Hello everyone,
Everyone.
I'm Ankit Shrestha, a PhD student at Utah State University. Here is a quick glimpse of the beautiful USU campus situated in Logan. Moving forward today, I'll be presenting our research on a first look into software security practices in Bangladesh. This is going to be the overall flow of the presentation today. We'll start with motivations and prior literature. While studies on privacy and security are abundant in the Western context, only a few studies have focused on privacy and security in Global South. These few studies on Global South focus on end-user security behavior. However, end-user behavior cannot be translated to developer behavior as we lack understanding of the professional scenarios which is impacted by organizational culture, professional requirements, and the availability of tools and support. Therefore, we focus on Bangladesh, which has recently become a global software exporter. Bangladesh ranks as one of the top 25 countries in the global outsourcing markets and exports software to more than 30 countries. Moving on to our review of the literature, we first look at findings from some works in developer settings. Prior work suggests that lack of support for progress tracking and batch processing interferes with developers' workflow and could deter security practices. Similarly, optimistic view towards secure software from organizations encourages developers to adopt security tools. However, all these works focus on Western countries, while there is a gap in understanding security practices in the Global South. The second part of our literature focuses on the situated privacy and security. Security and privacy are contextual, and they demand a situated understanding of users' perception and behavior to explore the design and policy practices. While online threats are global, the perceptions of threats are very localized and situated, as it can be impacted by the culture and norms of a place. While there are studies in Global South on end-user security behavior, our study is the first look at privacy and security in developer setting in Bangladesh. This leads us to two research questions. The first one is, how do the developers in Bangladesh perceive security in the context of software development? And what factors influence software security practices in Bangladesh? So now, moving on to the methodology, we recruited 15 participants via email listservs and social media groups of alumni organizations from multiple universities in Bangladesh. 13 of our participants were male and 2 were female. Anyone above 18 years who were engaged in software development were eligible for the study. We conducted semi-structured interview with our participants over Zoom in Bengali language that lasted between 45 to 60 minutes. We conducted inductive thematic analysis of the collected data. So, what are the limitations of our methodology? Our findings should not be generalized to all the developers in Global South. To do that, we need to do a large-scale quantitative study. We had non-uniform distribution in terms of the participants' gender. However, majority of developers in Bangladesh are male. Our distribution is not uniform, but is reasonable. Moving on to the results section, we will be using some keywords as shown here to refer to the corresponding participant range. Our first theme is security considerations within the software development stages in Bangladesh. From our findings, we realized that the software development lifecycle needed some changes to match with the process in Bangladesh. Starting with the design stages, we found that software developers do not get an opportunity to participate when design decisions are made by the clients and higher management, which later results in delays in projects. In implementation stage, cross-team collaborations and distribution of work add to the challenges that our participants encounter during development, along with the frequent changes in clients' requirements. In testing phase, developer testing, code analysis, and code review are seen as possible options to select one from instead of individual necessary stages. Throughout software development, when security bug is found, the participant need to go through a long chain of command for guidance on whether and how to address the bug. Our second theme is sense-making lenses on software security. The participants reported that the cost and benefit are looked at for security implementations. First, the focus is mostly on testing features and functionalities. Here in the code, the participant talks about how the developers are focused on finding functional and UX bugs, but not security bugs. In cases where security bug is found, it is decided based on the criticality of the bug. Unless the bug is extremely critical, the product is released without fixing them. Some participants view software security as a means of protecting user privacy. Participant P10 mentions working on a project for a healthcare organization where sensitive information required encryption to secure users' health data. However, they report they are not responsible for deploying such security protocols. Instead, the higher management at their organization takes care of that. Most participants thought of security as preventing source code theft. First, the participants mention use of VPN and private repositories instead of third-party storage devices to keep the source code safe. Second, participants reported on incidents where when employees left the organization, they took their code and sold them to their competitors. This resulted in creating access management for newer employees, reduced risk of insider data theft. Finally, participants mentioned following safe behavior, like not clicking on unnecessary websites and using secure password in laptop to secure the source code. Our third theme is security practices, role of clients. When security is not part of clients' requirements, most participants mentioned facing issues. First, due to the gap in knowledge, developers struggled to explain security features and its importance to the clients. Second, the clients only consider security when end users are affected by security incidents as a means of damage control, but not as a part of software requirement. When security is part of clients' requirements, developers face challenges with frequent changes in requirements. As mentioned in the code, developers face delays due to these changes which resulted in disregard for security as the deadline approached closer. In addition to that, varying time zones due to having a cross-country collaboration required the developers to stay extra hours even after work so that they could accompany meetings with clients. This resulted in loss of morale and resulted in project delays. Our final theme is security practices, role of organizational culture and leaderships. Most of our participants talked about the top-down authority in their organizations. Here, software developers are not included in the decision loop. This causes polarization in the decision-making, which causes delay in project completion due to mismatch in developer and management planning. As workaround, clients and higher management cut off security-related implementations to meet deadlines. Different teams that collaborate together for the projects work in different ways, and it becomes difficult to find the middle ground, which delays security implementations. Most participants report lack of training through academia, where they admit that academia helped them with fundamentals, but still, the academia needs to accommodate enough hands-on experiments and experiences that align with security. Some participants also mentioned receiving not any training at all in their organizations related to security. Most participants talked about how when the project gets delayed, there is a lag in decision-making. They report that approval of only 5-line content takes 15 days at client end because it needs to go through a long process with multiple steps to reach to the client. As we reported our findings, let us talk about some of the implications of these findings. Our first recommendation is to create command chain bypass to solve the problems from the long chain of command. We believe that decision can be made in different levels based on the criticality of the decision. Should not travel through the whole chain of command and thus be decided intermediately. To solve problems created due to varying time zones, we suggest implementing project customized hours. Here, the developers are provided work hours based on their projects so that their meetings with clients and cross-country teams fall under their working hours. Finally, to solve problems related to frequent changes in requirements, we suggest rethinking change management approaches. First, adaptive contractual agreements that decides on addition of time and payment for different changes to be finalized at the start of the project. Second, the changes and authorizations of these changes from clients should be documented properly in order to manage the changes as well as inform the clients in cases of disagreements. Due to time constraints, we're unable to present all our recommendations. Please read our paper to learn more details on them. That is the end of our presentation. Thank you. And if you have any questions, please contact me.